What if I told you the greatest lessons of billionaires were not in their victories, but in their failures? Think about it. We worship success. We study the highlights, the net worth, the headlines. But hidden behind every empire is a battlefield of mistakes, collapses, and humiliations no one likes to talk about. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. Elon Musk nearly went bankrupt trying to launch rockets that exploded in mid-air. Oprah was told she was unfit for television. Each of them stumbled, broke down, and faced the kind of rejection that would have crushed most people. But these failures weren't the end. They were the training ground, the refining fire. The truth is, the world doesn't teach us how to fail. Schools punish mistakes. Jobs demand perfection. But the billionaires who built legacies understood something radical. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the doorway to it. In this video, we're not glorifying money. We're uncovering 17 brutal, untaught lessons from billionaire failures. Lessons about risk, resilience, ego, timing, and the price of ambition. These are not feel-good tips. They are harsh, raw truths that will challenge how you see success, and more importantly, how you face defeat. By the end, you'll know what they knew. Failure isn't a dead end. It's the compass pointing you toward greatness. 1. Failure is the entry fee of success. Every skyscraper begins with failed blueprints. Every empire starts with broken foundations. The truth is, failure isn't optional. It's the entry fee of success. Billionaires don't avoid it. They pay with it. They lose millions. They watch companies collapse. They endure public ridicule. Most people run from mistakes like they're poison. But visionaries, they run toward them because they know failure is tuition, the cost of learning what no book or classroom can teach. Ask yourself, if failure is the price, are you willing to pay it? If the answer is no, you've already chosen mediocrity, because greatness has never been free, and the receipt is always written in failure. 2. Ego is the first thing to break. When billionaires fall, the first casualty is pride. Steve Jobs, fired from Apple. Zuckerberg, mocked for early failures. Musk, laughed at for exploding rockets. Their egos cracked under the weight of failure. But in that breaking, humility was born. Losing money isn't the hardest part. Losing status, losing face, losing the illusion of control, that's the true pain. But here's the paradox. When the ego dies, vision lives. When pride is stripped away, resilience grows. Ask yourself, what if losing everything isn't the worst thing? What if losing yourself is? Failure doesn't just break your business, it breaks you. And that's the point. Because only what survives is real. 3. Timing is more powerful than talent. You can be brilliant. You can work harder than anyone else. But if your timing is wrong, failure is inevitable. Some billionaires lost everything, not because their ideas were bad, but because they were early or too late. The lesson? Even the right seed dies if planted in the wrong season. Talent matters, vision matters, but timing decides survival. The market doesn't care if you're passionate. It cares if you're relevant. This is why billionaires study cycles, patterns, and waves of history. They don't just chase passion. They ride momentum. Remember, a genius out of season looks like a fool. Don't just ask, is my idea good? Ask, is the world ready for it yet? 4. Your first fortress will collapse. Every first fortress falls. Jeff Bezos didn't begin with Amazon. Richard Branson lost millions on failures before Virgin took flight. The first venture, the first project, the first fortress you build, it's almost guaranteed to collapse. And that collapse isn't a curse, it's rehearsal, it's training. The problem is, average minds cling to their first attempt like it's their only shot. Visionaries let go, they adapt, they rebuild stronger. So don't marry your first idea. It's not your legacy, it's your warm-up. Failure isn't the end of your story. It's the first draft of it. 5. Failure reveals who's real. When success shines, everyone shows up. Investors, friends, fans. But when failure strikes, the crowd vanishes. That's when you see who's real. Billionaires talk about this often. They remember the people who disappeared when things went dark. They also remember the rare few who stayed, those who believed, even when there was nothing left to believe in. Failure is a storm. It strips away the leaves. It shakes off the weak branches. What's left are the roots, the people, the values, the mission that actually matter. The takeaway? Don't resent the ones who leave. Be grateful for the ones who stay. Failure doesn't just test you. It reveals your circle. 6. Money can vanish overnight. Elon Musk once lived on borrowed money. Howard Schultz nearly lost Starbucks. Fortunes that took decades to build can disappear in weeks. Here's the truth. Wealth is fragile. Money is glass. Once dropped, it shatters. But character? The character is steel. That's what failures taught billionaires, that the true foundation isn't a bank account. It's the resilience to rebuild when the account runs dry. Most people believe security is found in money. But billionaires who've lost it all know better. The real security is found inside, in grit, vision, and the refusal to quit. Never confuse wealth with worth. One can vanish overnight, the other can't be taken from you. 7. Obsession outlives failure. What keeps billionaires alive after failure isn't money, it's an obsession. When Musk's rockets exploded, he didn't stop. When Jobs was exiled from Apple, he didn't walk away from technology. Their drive wasn't fueled by applause or profit. It was fueled by something deeper, an obsession that outlived humiliation. Failure can crush ambition, but it cannot extinguish obsession. That burning desire is stronger than loss, ridicule, or despair. Ask yourself, would you keep going if the world laughed? If the dream cost everything? Most won't. But those who do become legends. Obsession isn't just passion. Passion fades, obsession consumes, and that's why it survives the fire of failure. 8. Rejection is redirection. Oprah was rejected from TV. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Countless billionaires heard no before anyone ever said yes. But rejection isn't the end. It's a compass. Every slammed door is a redirection, a push toward the one that matters. The problem is most of us take rejection personally. We hear you're not good enough instead of you're not meant for this door. Billionaires see it differently. They treat rejection like navigation, not condemnation. Every no points to a better yes. So the next time you're rejected, don't ask, why me? Ask, where is this pushing me? Because rejection isn't punishment, it's guidance. 9. The market doesn't care about you. This is one of the harshest lessons. The market doesn't care about your passion. It doesn't care about your backstory, your dreams, or your tears. Many billionaire failures came from believing that sheer willpower or love for an idea would be enough. But the market is cold, indifferent. Think of it like the ocean. It doesn't care about your little boat. It only respects skill. If you want to survive, you don't beg the waves to be gentle. You learn how to sail. The takeaway is simple. Stop demanding that the world love your idea. Adapt until the world has no choice but to pay attention. 10. Patience separates legends from losers. Billionaires who made it endured years of obscurity, setbacks, and frustration. Those who didn't failed because they rushed. Impatience kills empires. It pushes people to chase shortcuts, force outcomes, or quit too early. Patience isn't passive. It's not laziness. Patience is powerful. It's the ability to hold your ground while time tests your resolve. There's a quote worth remembering. It takes 20 years to build an overnight success. The truth? Legends understand this. Losers don't. They demand instant results. But greatness doesn't sprint. It endures. Patience isn't waiting. Patience is working in silence long enough to prove the world wrong. 11. Failure demands reinvention. Every major collapse is a mirror. It shows you who you are not and who you must become. Steve Jobs didn't just return to Apple. He reinvented himself at Pixar, proving failure was only a doorway to transformation. Musk didn't stop after rocket disasters. He reinvented how space travel was even imagined. Failure demands reinvention. It doesn't politely suggest it. It forces it. If you refuse, you stay broken. If you accept, you evolve. That's why reinvention is survival. The next time life breaks you, don't cling to what you were. Step into what you must become, because the old version of you won't survive the next level. 12. Silence is louder than applause. Failure is lonely. It strips away the claps, the cheers, the validation. Suddenly, the room is quiet, and that silence is suffocating unless you learn to embrace it. Billionaires know this stage well. Before the recognition, before the headlines, there was silence. Work done in shadows, nights with no applause, years where no one cared. But silence is where legends are made. Because if you can work with no praise, no recognition, no spotlight, then success won't own you when it arrives. Applause is temporary, silence is training, and those who can endure it are the ones who eventually earn the world's standing ovation. 13. Sacrifice separates the dreamers from the doers. Everyone dreams, but billionaires don't just dream, they sacrifice. They give up comfort, sleep, approval, even relationships. They understand that greatness demands a trade. You don't get to keep everything and still rise to the top. Something must be burned at the altar of ambition. That's where most people stop. They want the dream without the cost. They want success and comfort at the same time. But history doesn't work that way. Sacrifice is the currency of transformation. You don't pay for success with wishes. You pay with pain, discipline, and trade-offs most people will never dare to make. If you're not willing to lose something, you're not ready to gain everything. 14. Failure tests. Integrity. When everything falls apart, integrity is exposed. Some billionaires failed because they cut corners, lied, or betrayed trust when pressure mounted. Their fall wasn't because of the market. It was because of who they became under fire. On the flip side, legends survive failure because they refuse to bend their core. Integrity is the anchor that keeps them steady when the storm hits. It's easy to be honest when you're winning. It's harder when you're desperate, broke, and tempted to cheat. But here's the truth. Failure without integrity destroys you. Failure with integrity refines you. The world will forgive failure. It won't forgive corruption. 15. Vision must outweigh fear. Fear is the quiet killer. It whispers that you should quit, play safe, or shrink. And many billionaire dreams died, not from lack of talent, but from fear disguised as logic. The survivors chose vision over fear. They saw something bigger than the danger, bigger than the ridicule, bigger than the risk. That's the secret. Not the absence of fear, but the refusal to obey it. Courage isn't about feeling safe. It's about moving forward while terrified. If your vision isn't bigger than your fear, you'll always settle. But if it is, then fear becomes fuel, not chains. 16. Wealth was never the goal. Here's the twist. The billionaires who endured failure never chased billions. They chased impact. Jobs didn't obsess over money. He obsessed over design. Musk didn't dream of yachts. He dreamed of Mars. Oprah didn't chase numbers. She chased connection. Money was the byproduct, not the pursuit. The ones who made money the main target often collapsed when it slipped away, but those who pursued meaning created legacies that outlived them. So, if you want wealth, stop chasing wealth. Chase the thing that lights your soul on fire. Chase the problem you can't stop solving. Because impact attracts wealth, but wealth alone rarely creates impact. 17. Failure is not the end, it's the beginning. Here's the final lesson. Failure isn't the graveyard, it's the birthplace. Every billionaire who mattered stood at the edge of ruin, bankruptcy, rejection, public humiliation. They all faced the death of their dream, but they understood something most people never will. Failure is only fatal if you stop. Each collapse was a rebirth. Each disaster was the doorway to the next level. And that's the paradox. You don't succeed despite failure. You succeed because of it. The world remembers those who refuse to stay down. So when failure comes, and it will, don't bury your dream. Plant it, and let the fire forge you.